Hello, how are you today?
I'm not well, thank you.
Why is that?
There's a surprise answer for you. No, I'm okay. I'm okay.
Please tell us something about yourself. Introduce yourself to the audience.
Something about myself. Wow. I've been alive for 80 years, so there's a lot to tell. You mean my whole, like a biographical sketch of
Your
myself?
name, where were you born?
My name is Bill Freedman. I was born in Newark, New Jersey, and I went to Rutgers for my BA, University of Florida for my MA, and my University of Chicago for my PhD. And then I taught at the City University of New York for 4 years, from 1964 to 68. And then I came to Israel. I was offered this job, and I was interested, and I was married to a woman who became a Chavarat Knesset, actually, my wife.
Yeah.
She won a contest, a Hadassah contest, why I want to live in Israel. And she was given a prize of 10 weeks on a kibbutz here in Israel. And she loved it. She just loved it so much she didn't want to go back home. So when the opportunity came for me to get a job here, and we would go and we had a 1-year-old baby at the time. So she was very excited about it, and I wasn't happy in America with the Vietnam War and all this kind of stuff. So we came thinking we would only come for 1 year, but we felt very, very good here. Felt very, very good. It was 1967. It was after the war. And we thought there was going to be peace. We were foolish. We thought now there will be peace. So it was a very kind of optimistic, euphoric time, and we decided
I
to
want
stay.
to know a little bit about your childhood. How were you raised? Your family?
My family.
Yeah, your childhood.
Did you read the piece in the in Jonathan's journal, the Sunrise
Yes,
Journal?
yes.
Yeah. So I talked a little about it
Yeah.
there, didn't I? I didn't have a great childhood. I would not go back to my childhood. I didn't like it, didn't enjoy it. So I had, an experience of being in a family, what you call a dysfunctional family. Yes. We're very big on divorces in my family. We specialize in it.
It's in your genes?
It's our, what?
It's in your genes?
It's in the genes. My mother was divorced. I was divorced twice. My brother was divorced 3 times.
Oh.
Yes. And my daughter was divorced. And his daughter was divorced. Both of his daughters were divorced. Yes, it seems to be in the genes. Yes, right.
You said that you moved to Israel at
In
1967?
1967, and then it went home for a year and came back in 69.
Yeah. How was it like making this transition, moving from one country to another?
Well, as I say, it wasn't hard for me because I wasn't happy in America. I mean, it was the Vietnam War, and the patriots, the people who were in favor of the war, which was not me, had stickers on their cars that said, "America, love it or leave it." Well, I didn't love it, so I figured I'd better leave it. Yes, I was very unhappy. I'm very unhappy with America now also, but of course I'm also unhappy with Israel. But when I came to Israel, I was greeted like a hero. Yes, people said, "Oh, an American has come," like America was the savior. Yes. America is still the great other place, yes? It's a myth. America is not the great other place. But Israelis see it this way, as some kind of a paradise with gold in the streets. You just have to go around with a shovel and take the gold home with you. So I was very pleased to get out. My wife was thrilled because she couldn't wait to get back to Israel, having had this wonderful experience. So we came, and as I say, it was right after the 67 war, and everybody says, "Oh, it's going to be peace. Everybody loves everybody else now. Surely it's going to be peace." And people would stop me on the street and say, "Where are you from?" I'd say, "I'm from America." "You must stay here. We love you. We need you." And also the university, the president of the university came to see me, especially to see me in America. "We need you. We're going to build a university around you. It's people like you who are going to make Haifa University a great university." Well, this is very flattering, and my head is expanding here. This sounds very good. So I went to my chairman in the English department at where I was in the City University at Brooklyn College, and I said, "Well, I'm leaving. I'm going to Israel." So he said, "Well, good luck." I said, "What do you mean, good luck? Aren't you going to miss me? Aren't you going to say, 'Oh, no, please don't go. We'll miss you. We can't do without you'?" He said, We have 70 members in the department. We can do without anyone. So this was the difference, yes? Israel is telling me, we need you, you're important, we're going to build a university. The only thing they didn't say is we're going to build the country around you. And in America, they're telling me, we can do without you, go away, who needs you? Yeah. So it was a big ego trip for me. It was also very exciting because I met some very, I don't know, people who were really in love with the country. You want me to tell you some experiences? Yeah.
Of course, please.
So, when my car broke down on the highway, I called the mechanic. His name was Simcha, happiness.
Yes.
And he looked like Simcha the dwarf, the 7 dwarfs, happy. One of them is happy, little round red face, you know. And he asked me, he said, do you speak Hebrew? I said, I speak very little. He said, okay. So I will say this to you in very simple Hebrew. He said, do you see that stone on the hill over there? I love that stone like my own sister. And I said, oh my God, what a wonderful feeling that must be, to love the place you're in like it's your own sister, yes? To love a stone like your sister. And I met people like that who were just very enthusiastic and very happy because it was a very good time. Right in with 73 and the election of Menachem Begin, it became already not my country, yes? I began to feel like an alien again, yes? Like an outsider, the way I had felt in America. And I wanted to belong. I loved the idea of coming, and I remember.
Can you talk a little bit more about the relationship between people in the past, at the time, and the difference between the relationship between people at the past and today? What have changed?
My relationship with people in the past, what kind
Not necessarily your relationship with people, that you know.
How people, well, I can tell you a little bit about children.
Yeah.
Yes, we played in the street all the time. There were no computers, and we were out on, there was television just beginning. When I was a child, television came in when I was about 10 years old. Before that, there was not television either. But we played in the street. We played ball in the street, and there were like, every day you would go out into the street, there would be 5 or 10 children out there, and it was wonderful. It was absolutely wonderful. We lived on the street with great trees that met over the street, like a canopy. Yes, on both sides, these trees. It was a very middle-class neighborhood, 2-family houses. My family did not make a lot of money. My mother was a teacher. My father was a salesman. Right? We just kind of barely got along, but we didn't feel poor. And we were very close among a number of children, a lot of friends among children, which children today don't seem to me to have. They play on their computers all the time, their cell phones all the time, and all their friends are virtual friends. Yes, they have 275 virtual friends, and it looks to me like very little in the way of real friends. Yeah.
Now let's move to poetry. First, can you define poetry? How does it differ? And why did you choose to be a poet and teach poetry?
Can I define poetry? Well, yeah, I mean, I can define poetry. It's usually what goes down the middle of the page. That's what's poetry, right? That's it. It goes down the middle of the page. Almost anything can be poetry if you choose to call it poetry. There are really no rules. It used to be quite rigid about what was poetry. It rhymed, it had stanza form, it had clear meter, metric beats and stuff. This has loosened up considerably. Most of what's written today is free verse. And what I write is free verse, very rarely rhymed. And there are still people who are writing formal verse, but poetry has loosened up. Poetry is basically anything that goes down the middle of the page and where the line length matters. Yes? Where the poet decides where the line should end, not the printer, not the person who's printing the book. So it doesn't really matter what you call poetry. And as long as it should have an effect. It should have a powerful effect. Yeah. For me, poetry should move you. It should touch you and move you. You should feel, somebody said, I think it was A.E. Housman, he said, I don't know what a poem is, but I know what a good poem is, but don't read me one while I'm shaving. In other words, I'll cut myself. I'll get so excited, yes? And Emily Dickinson said, it makes my hair stand on end. That's how I know it's a poem, right? So that's what poetry is for me. It's something that really moves people. And the poems of my own that I like are ones that I think will move people, that they will feel, have an emotional reaction to it. I'm not interested so much in being smart as in being, emotionally significant. Yeah. So this is a poem about my father and my mother and playing baseball. You know what baseball is, right? And this is called Man at Bat, yes? Right? So when I was a boy, my father played softball with us in the city park. The grass was quilted, new mown, and it smelled of limes. The trees around us, eating time and drinking summer heat, watched from their third-tier seats. Branches were mezzanine and bleachers, leaves spectators, and when the wind ran out a routine grounder, they applauded as leaves do. My mother was at home, dusting furniture, and wondering how, knowing all the routes and numbers, she had gotten on the bus with the stammering red-haired driver who could not memorize the way, who scraped parked cars, stuttered curses through windows he was afraid to open, and rarely spoke. So did I, on every day but this. At the plate, he stared intently at the pitcher, swung with all the smoothness and conviction his life had tripped on in the dark and left behind. At meeting sound he ran, not from the ghosts who drove him to his soft blue chair on work days, but towards something white as wishes, hard, staked down and waiting. If he reached first base, hands on hips, he turned to look for me. I'm going to cry. And I felt for the first of many times how God could plead. I looked away as though I had not seen. Not every child bears Priam on his back to flee the burning city of an old man's fears. I was not up next and not obliged to move him on, but I am older now and marching slowly to the plate with a stick of guilt and memory in my hand. I look toward first, see the soft wind working through the orange hairs along his arms. Like thin-stemmed flowers on a hill, and though he hugs the bag like his mother's knee, I feel my head nod slowly, like the mute, reluctant world when it says yes. So I'll read one that's a little easier. Wow, I didn't think that was going to happen. Yeah.
That was very nice. Do you have any advice for the new generation when it comes to poetry?
Live all you can, little Billum, live all you can. What's my advice for first of all, there are different new generations. The generation here, I have advice for the new generation. Be politically active. Yes, get involved. Yes, don't sit on the side. Don't stay home and say I'm not voting because I'm disappointed in my party and all that kind of stuff. Get out there, be active, be involved. And if you can't be politically involved, be socially involved. Help people who need help. Be involved with charity organizations. I mean, I'm now very involved with this group called Yad Ezer L'Chaver, which is a helping hand to a friend, is what it means. And they distribute food. They distribute food on holidays. They give packages of food to people who aren't eating properly. They also have a home for Holocaust survivors, for these old Jewish people from Europe who were in the concentration camps and survived, and they're now 80 and 90 years old, and they have no money and nowhere to live, and this organization takes them in and gives them a place to live and feeds them and takes care of them. And I'm involved with this. Actually, I'm the president of the organization, but I don't take credit for it because I don't do nearly enough work. It's just he uses my name because I'm a professor. So it sounds good to have a professor at the head of the organization. So, but this kind of thing is important. Care about people, worry about people, get active trying to help people who need help. Yes, there are lots of people who need help in Israel, in your village, in your town, across the seas, everywhere. Just care.
Thank you, Bill. I was very honored to do this interview with you.
Thank you. It's a Pleasure.